Take your notes out, we're gonna go pretty much in order. Okay, pretty much in order. Okay, Miss Reed. Miss Reed, tell me who Luke Mooney was. Luke Mooney. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. You've got to know this. He was a deputy sheriff who found the sniper's post at a window on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. Okay, so that's good. Okay, who is John Will Fritz, Keaton? We haven't talked a lot about him. We're really going to get into him when we get into Oswald's interrogation, because he's going to be the man that interrogates Oswald. But at this point, who is he?
He's Dallas police captain, and he arrived at the School Book Depository at 12:15.
Okay, he basically, how many minutes after the assassination did he arrive at the depository?
Like half an hour.
How many? 12:30 to 12:58. How many minutes? Well, he is the Dallas police captain, arrived at the Texas School Book Depository 28 minutes after the assassination. Okay? All right. Who is Eugene Boone? Michael?
Eugene Boone is a Dallas police officer. He discovered the rifle. It was across the room from where the sniper's post was. It was hidden behind, in between some stacked boxes.
Very good. He was the man that discovered the rifle in the Texas School Book Depository, and it was across the room. Really?
122.
Never tell a person not to do that. Okay, Miss Ermentrout, who is J.C. Day?
I'm just looking at the notes from that.
Oh, you know, now listen, I want you to know, that's what my knuckleheads 5th period say. They always say, oh, I wasn't here that day, whenever they don't know an answer. But you really weren't here. So we passed on to Shelby. Shelby, who, they do that every time, oh, I wasn't here that day, okay. And they never miss, so it never works good. So who is J.C. Day?
He was a police lieutenant who they called the 6th floor when they found the rifle.
Okay, and what did he do when he got there?
He could photograph the rifle, noted its serial number and scratched his name on the stock.
Very good, that's J.C. Day. Okay, Miss Barris, who is Marion Baker? Marion Baker. Are you just doing it without your notes because you're going to see how smart you are, or would you forget your notes?
No, I forgot my notes.
Oh, okay. God, you should have just come up and, no, you know what, Mr. Barrett, I'll tell you what the deal is. I'm so brilliant, I'm just going to go rogue here without it. That's what I would have said. But anyway, go ahead. You know who he is?
She said she.
What did she say?
Yes.
Did you miss that?
No, so I was thinking he was one of the first person he saw Oswald.
Well, close. Here, Marion Baker was a motorcycle policeman who ran into the Texas School Book Depository immediately after the shots were taken with his pistol drawn because he thought that's where the shots came from. Now, the long story on that is he got together with Superintendent Roy Truly, which I'll just answer that because you need to know this too. He got together with Roy Truly, who was the building superintendent, and basically got on the elevator, attempted to get on the elevator, it was already taken, so they started up the stairs. On the 2nd floor, he caught a kind of an image out in his eye, Baker did, as Truly was following him. He saw Lee Harvey Oswald on the 2nd floor. He confronted him and he asked, Truly, do you know this man? And he said, yes, he works here. Okay, so who is Marion Baker? He's a motorcycle policeman who ran in the depository immediately after the assassination because he believed that's where the shots came from. Who is Roy Truly? He was the building superintendent of the Texas School Book Depository. Okay, moving on to Carolyn. Carolyn, who is Cecil McWaters?
So, Cecil McWaters was a bus driver that Lee Harvey Oswald took his bus because they found it on the bus ticket.
Okay, Cecil McWaters was the bus driver who picked up Lee Harvey Oswald, not at a regular bus stop, gave him a ride for 4 minutes, and let him off because the traffic was too heavy. Okay, he was the bus driver. Very good. Okay, who is J.D. Tippett? Delancey? Or Bugger? J.D. Tippett.
He's a police officer that saw Oswald walking, called him over his car. got out of his car and went to walk around in front of it, and then Oswald pulled out his gun and shot him 4 times.
Yep, he's the police officer that Lee Harvey Oswald shot to death at 10th and Patton Avenue in Oak Cliff. Okay? 10th and Patton at Oak. Okay? All right, we'll move on to Jessica back there. Tell me who Earlene Roberts was. Earlene Roberts. Earlene Roberts. She actually was before J.D. Tippit. Yeah, I got them a little out of order. Who is Earlene Roberts?
When she was like the housekeeper for one of the people that was living in the, what do you call it?
Boarding house?
The boarding house, and when he came in to get his light colored coat and his .38 caliber revolver, she saw him.
Very good. That's very good. Okay, Saskia, if you could tell me who Helen Markham was. Helen Markham.
Student for sergeant in Mr. Tower.
Yeah, you must have missed that. You two did really good in my period class. I'll tell, it's okay. Who was Helen Markham, David?
She was the lady that was on the sidewalk after Oswald shot Tippit and her, and he walked towards her and she's like, okay,
Yeah, she was an eyewitness to the shooting of Tippit, and Oswald walked right toward her after he shot Tippit. And, I mean, right toward her, she was so scared, she just put both hands over her eyes and hoped he didn't harm her. He just kind of muttered something and walked by. Okay?
how come when he walks by these people, nobody remembers what they
Yeah, he's just
nobody
mumbling.
says to him?
Because I think when we learn more about him, he was just that way, he was kind of a mutterer. I mean, unless he had a stage. Now, if he had a stage, he was an incredible, you just gotta hear the story. The guy was an interesting dude. If he had an audience, he was just unbelievable, but in the case like this. Well, he acted like he was. He could have been, but he wasn't. But he sure acted
So
like
he
he
could have
was.
been like a good public speaker.
I think he could have been a good,
Crazy person?
yeah, there you go. I'll take that. Okay, who was William Scoggins? Kaylee?
He was also a witness along with Helen Markham to the J.D. Tippit.
And if you really dig deep, he did something else. Anybody know?
Well,
He was a cab driver that Ted Calloway, who we'll talk about in a minute, got in with looking for Oswald. So who was Ted Calloway, Kaylee? We'll give you another shot.
He was the owner of the used car lot, and he was in gunshots, so he began to set fire. He was quoted as saying, Oswald came in, what the hell's going on?
Right, and he's also the guy that, if you think about the story, that went to use the police radio not knowing somebody else had tried to do that, and was told to stay off the radio, and then he got in the cab with William Scoggins and looked all over for Oswald to no avail. Okay. Who was, let's see, I'll go to Haley, who was Temple Bowley? Temple Bowley, who was he?
Temple Valley, him and his, at 117, him and his 12-year-old daughter saw Tippit lying on the ground, like next to the cab or whatever.
Well, not next to the cab, next to the police car.
Or police car.
If he'd have been next to the cab, that'd have been easy fine for those two guys.
My
Okay.
bad, yeah.
Anyway,
To
so
the
go ahead.
police car.
And what were they doing when they saw him? Were they walking by, jump roping?
They're driving.
They just drove by, yeah. So Temple Bowley was a guy that had his 12-year-old daughter with him, and as they were driving by 10th and Patton Avenue, they saw this police officer lying by his police car. And Bowley left his daughter in the car, and he confronted a man in the police car who was trying to use the radio that didn't know how to do it. And since he knew how to do it, because he was trained in CB radio, he actually called in. So when Calloway came, that was the guy that had already called in, and they told him to stay off the radio. So, perfect. Okay. Shayna, who was Johnny Brewer?
He was the owner of the Hardy Shoe Store.
Not owner,
and-
manager.
Oh,
Yeah, don't give him any credit. He'd love to be the owner, but ain't. Go ahead, manager of Hardy's Shoe Store.
okay, so he was the manager of the Hardy Shoe Store, and he saw that Oswald was sitting in the reset area of the store.
Okay.
He looked like he was running because his shirt was out of his back. And so he was kind of curious what he was doing, and he kept walking down the street. And so we went outside and watched him enter the Texas Theater at 1:45 p.m.
Perfect, and then just to add a little bit to that, he actually followed Oswald down and asked Julia Postal, I'll just do that one for you, the ticket taker, who was standing out by the curb because she was seeing what was going on with the siren. She asked if this guy had paid for a ticket, and she didn't even see the guy, right? And so at that time, Brewer gave Postal a description of Oswald, and then Postal called that description in to police, okay? Who was then Warren Burroughs? Who was that, Sequoia? Who was Warren Burroughs? Warren Butch Burroughs.
He was one of the second and he also.
Right, Oswald walked right by Warren Butch Burroughs, who was stocking the candy shelf in the theater, and he didn't see him either, okay? Conspiracy theorists go crazy with that, thinking these people are just making this up, that, you know, they were part of the whole thing. Well, you know, whatever. Okay? Okay, let me see here. Who was Ray Hawkins? Jessa? Who was Jessa Clark? Well, she's an outstanding student. Who's Ray Hawkins?
He was an investigator that with police officer Emmett McDonald went into the theater.
Okay, Ray Hawkins was one of 16 officers that went into the Texas Theater. That's about the best for him. How about M.N. McDonald? Tell me who M.N. McDonald was, Jessica. What was his significance? What did he do?
He was the police officer that actually went into the theater and walked up the aisle with Hawkins to confront Oswald.
Okay, and if you remember correctly, he asked Oswald to stand, and Oswald blurted out something like, well, it's all over now, stood up, punched McDonald, pulled out his .38 and tried to fire it, and McDonald grabbed his gun and just luckily got his thumb and first finger between the hammer and the firing pin, or he probably got shot in the deal. So who was Paul Bentley? Who was Paul Bentley, Shelby Hodges? Paul Bentley.
He was an officer who punched Oswald in the head
Okay, and why did he do that?
because he was like resisting arrest.
Yeah, although he was telling everybody on many occasions, I am not resisting arrest, I am not resisting arrest. Well, he certainly was, and Paul Bentley got a little tired of him resisting arrest, so he punched him in the face, basically. Okay, tell me, Miss Barris, if you can remember this off, I'm gonna give you a chance, and I want you to feel like you're, not part of the group. Who was Dr. Earl Rose? Do you remember who he was? Only doctor we talked about in this test material. The rest of the doctors were at Parkland. What did Dr. Earl Rose do? He wasn't very happy with the Secret Service. What did he do?
The guy who, he wanted to, he told, Secret Service people that they need to do the autopsy in Texas.
In Dallas, because of his Texas state law, yeah.
And then, was it Smithfield?
No, it was actually Roy Kellerman.
Oh, Kellerman, yeah. Kellerman was the one who was like, no, we're taking him home to the presidency.
Yeah, so basically, Dr. Earl Rose was the chief medical examiner at Parkland Hospital who insisted that the autopsy of President Kennedy be done in Dallas due to Texas law, which we all know
Was he going
didn't
to
happen.
perform the autopsy or
He
was
not,
it
he
just
would have been
his-
part of it. He probably would have been part of it, but he wouldn't be the only one. Yeah, he'd have probably been part of it. Okay, all right. Saskia, who was George Berkeley? George Berkeley. I can't remember if you were here then. You probably weren't here. I don't think, well, you might. That was yesterday, yeah. He had something to do with Kenneth O'Donnell. It had something to do with this big argument they were having on whether they're gonna take the body out or not. Anybody remember who George Berkeley was? Michael?
He was the president's.
Go ahead, Michael.
He was the president's personal physician, and O'Donnell said that Kennedy's body would never leave his side up until they got to DC.
Yeah, that was a compromise. It didn't work real well, but that was a compromise. So George Berkeley was the president's personal physician who was on the trip with him to Dallas, okay? How about Godfrey McHugh, Daylin? Who was Godfrey McHugh? Oh, you weren't? Oh, this is getting quite crazy. Okay, were you here yesterday morning? I'm gonna give you a chance to redeem yourself now. Who was Godfrey McHugh? Or not Godfrey McHugh, I'm sorry. Yeah, who was Godfrey McHugh? Sorry.
He was a military advisor and ordered the plane to take off immediately.
Okay, and why did he want that plane to take off immediately?
For the safety of everyone on the plane at Jackie's request, and the plane had been running for a long time, it was hot and uncomfortable.
Yeah, and Baxley McHugh didn't have any interest in Johnson. He didn't even know Johnson was on the plane. He figured Johnson would take off to Texas back on the same plane he flew in with, remember? Because he came before Kennedy. So McHugh was the guy that wanted, the Air Force wanted to depart for Washington the instant the president's body was aboard, okay? And for those reasons. Okay, Who was James Swindoll? Carolyn, who was James Swindoll, excuse me.
He was a pilot who wasn't gonna take off until, Johnson gave him the.
Very good. He was pilot of Air Force One who was not going to take off until Lyndon Johnson gave him the word do so. Who was Barefoot Sanders, Keaton? Barefoot Sanders. Barefoot Sanders, kind of a weird name. Who was he?
He was the U.S. attorney that Irving Goldberg called,
Okay, what information did he give to Irvin Goldberg?
that a federal judge could find him.
Very good, that a federal judge could administer the oath of office for the presidency. Very good. Okay, Saskia, try this one. Who was Sarah T. Hughes? Sarah T. Hughes. You weren't here yet. She wasn't here yet, were you? Oh, okay. Do you want to take a guess? Yeah, she was the mechanic on the plane. No, Sequoia, who was she? Who was her? Who was she?
She was the 238, and she helped Johnson become the president.
How did she help him? Hold his hand, or she kicked him in the butt, or say, no, I hope you get to be president? She was a federal judge that swore in Lyndon Johnson as the 36th president of the United States. Okay, all those names you noticed were 25 of those. I want to make sure that you understand you got to spell first and last names correctly, which will not be difficult since these are going to be matching.
Oh,
So you have to know
So
who
you have
they
to
are.
spell
Yeah, I got to spell correctly. So they're matching, those 25
So you
dollars.
match
if
them
you
with
spell
who
them
they
wrong,
are,
correct.
and you have a way to spell.
Yeah, if
You-
I spell
you
one
should-
wrong, you can take off
You
points.
should,
Okay.
you should purposely spell some wrong, just so
See
we
if you
can be
notice.
like, yeah,
I know you
know
guys,
spell
you'll
that
notice.
right.
They may not notice anything else, they'll notice that the old big guy makes a mistake. Okay. All right, here's some other things you gotta know. So there's 25 matching. Okay,
And
case,
that was all matching.
that's just all matching. So there's not too many more names, or none. No more names. Okay, Ms. Soderstrom, when police found a sniper's post on the, I'm kind of starting back over here.
Okay, yeah.
When police found a sniper's post on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, how far was that position from the? Very good, 88 yards from the presidential limousine. So from the sniper's post where the president was shot, 88 yards. Okay, Miss Kennedy, other than cartons of books stacked forming a sniper's post, explain the other evidence found on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. Two things they found.
There was a half-eaten piece of chicken.
Okay, we won't consider that evidence, but we're gonna come back to it, okay? We won't consider it evidence.
There was 3 spent shell casings.
And, real
and-
simply, where the casings came from was the rifle.
Oh,
Yeah.
that.
So, the pieces of evidence that were found on the 6th floor, other than the sniper's post, were 3 spent shell casings and the rifle. Okay, Miss Ferris, I'm gonna give you another chance here before I go to read. Give me 3 reasons Secret Service agent Roy Kellerman insisted that President Kennedy's body be immediately taken back to Washington, D.C. 3 reasons why.
First priority was Lyndon Johnson's
Security
security.
of the new President Lyndon Johnson.
Jackie wouldn't leave without the president.
His body.
Yeah, the body.
Okay,
Without the
and?
president and Lyndon Johnson wouldn't leave without that.
You're doing okay without your notebook. Yeah, how about a hand for Garrett? Man, kick him butt today. See, I already used that first excuse. I wouldn't admit it if I left it in my locker. Okay. All right, Shelby Reed. Who made the final decision that President Kennedy's body would be taken back to Washington, D.C.? You shouldn't even have to look in your notes. Kenneth O'Donnell. There you go. Okay, let's see how smart we are here. Michael Sanchez. Within 60 minutes of the assassination, lists the 5 bits of information that the Dallas Police Department had accumulated. Within the first 60 minutes, what did they know? What evidence did they have? What had they done?
They had a rifle,
They had found the rifle used in the shooting.
they found the shells,
They found the spent shells.
they found, they had a description of
Yeah.
the,
Suspect.
yeah, the
A
suspect.
description of the suspect in the assassination, and 2 more, Jessup.
Oh, they had the suspect's name, and did you already say the sniper post?
Nope, that's it.
How?
So here's the thing they had found the sniper's post, they had found the spent shells, they found the rifle, they had a description of the suspect, and they had the name of the suspect. Conspiracy, I just think this is just, within 60 minutes, 1 hour, they had that information. That was pretty good investigating despite the criticism they took. Okay, moving on. Saskia, I'm gonna let you redeem yourself here. What was the name of one of the two movies shown during the double feature at the Texas Theater the day Lee Harvey Oswald was apprehended?
She wasn't even worried
She was
at all.
looking at you.
She wasn't.
Really? What was the name of one of the two movies?
She already said it.
War as Hell. Anybody know the other one?
Drive
Down. Okay, there you go.
Why don't you have a good one?
Can't find it. I looked, you know me. Hey, I gotta tell you the score I made yesterday. We'll just interrupt this a minute. Ray Hawkins, Paul Bentley, M.N. McDonald. Now, M.N. McDonald's signatures aren't that tough. You cannot get a Hawkins or Bentley. I mean, they just don't have them already. I find them yesterday. The guy wants $500 for it. No. Best offer, $200. Counter offer, $400. Email from me, the best I can do is $300. I email him about how wonderful a class I am.
Oh.
And that I'm a history teacher, we have this unbelievable wall.
Oh my god.
And he says, okay, $250.
So you drive.
Oh,
So I'll have him up here when they get it.
what is it?
$200, it's Paul Bentley and Ray
So do
Hawkins.
you like, do you
And
take
then
a
the-
tax exemption on all these?
I do, certainly do, yeah. What?
Do you find these in order of when we go in our lesson?
Try to, if I can, yeah. Okay, anyway, moving on. All right, who haven't I picked on for a while? I haven't picked on Delancey for a long time. Kay, yes. Oh, and Kaylee's just the quiet, never gonna volunteer. I'll get her next. Okay, Delancey, why did Jackie Kennedy refuse to clean up and change her bloody clothes prior to the swearing in of Lyndon Johnson as President of the United States?
She wanted them to see what we're done.
She wanted people to see what they've done to her husband, done to Jack, yep, perfect. Okay, Kaylee, what was discovered on one of the boxes Lee Harvey Oswald used to rest his rifle during his assassination of President Kennedy? Half a piece or piece of a half-eaten chicken? Half-eaten piece of chicken. Yeah, don't get that wrong. Okay, back to you, Lemka, back right at you. Here we go. What two things did Lee Harvey Oswald grab from his room at the boarding house he was staying at after the assassination? What did he grab?
A light flare jacket.
And a real tight? 38. Don't put 22 or anything. It's 38.
What
Okay.
is it?
He grabbed a light colored jacket and his .38 revolver, .38. Now, that famous picture that I gave you and all the names I supplied, I will make this comment. It would be beneficial for you to know that. Okay, I'm not saying anything, I'm not saying that it's a big part of the test, I'm not saying it's a little part of the test, I'm just saying I wouldn't spend my life studying that first, but it would be beneficial to know who they were. Yep, I'll give it to you right now.
Names?
Oh, I need to know.
Do we have a word?
Is that it? I wasn't sure, is that it for all of you?
That's it. That's the review.
Hey,
JK, I have one